educators closest to students in their classrooms in their respective states. We're going to have a great event here later at 4 o'clock. There will be students here, teachers here, parents here, educators, and of course governors from around the country who are very excited about taking on this responsibility to educate our nation's students.
Who's going to run federal student loans?
So the Department of Education will be much smaller than it is today. As you know, the President's executive order directed Linda McMahon to greatly minimize the agency. So when it comes to student loans and Pell Grants, those will still be run out of the Department of Education.
Donald Trump's press secretary, Carolyn Levitt, just screwed up her job again. And that should come as no surprise to us. We know that Carolyn Levitt is bad at this. That's not breaking news. But what is breaking news is the latest Trump violation of the Constitution that Levitt tried and failed to spin. But it's not just Trump. She is also now defending Elon Musk and one of the most insane members of Donald Trump's cabinet, his Commerce Secretary, Howard Lutnick. And all of this, all of the pressure of pushing the lies and the propaganda led Levitt to just run away from the press because she can't take it anymore. And she knows that she's bad at her job. And we are going to get into all of it. But before we do, if I could quickly ask you to leave a like on this video, and if you haven't already and you enjoy our channel, to hit that subscribe button. It goes a long way, and it really does mean a lot to me now. Before we can get into Levitt running away, I want to check out what the context of her first question was. It was about the Department of Education, and Rachel Maddow did a great job breaking down Trump's attack on it.
It started with a sort of mysterious notice this afternoon, a reference to security concerns that went out to all employees at the U.S. Department of Education. Quote, beginning today at 6 p.m., all Education Department offices will be closed for security reasons. Employees must vacate the building by that time. This notice also said all Education Department offices would be closed tomorrow and no employees would be allowed in. Now, this notice had no details about what these security reasons were, but it was pretty clear what was coming. After all, we've been through this a couple of times already now. It was just over a month ago when people who work at USAID got an email saying their office would be closed the next day and they shouldn't come to work. That was right before Trump set about completely dismantling that whole agency. Employees at the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, same thing, sent a very similar note saying their office would be shut for the following week, just as the White House ordered the entire agency to stop all of its work. And sure enough, tonight, just after the 6 p.m. deadline for Education Department workers to vacate their offices because of some security concern, Trump Education Secretary, the billionaire pro wrestling executive Linda McMahon, announced that her department is cutting its workforce in half. They will begin firing more than 1,300 people from the Education Department tonight. And then, of course, she went straight to Fox News.
That was the president's mandate, this directive to me, clearly is to shut down the Department of Education, which we know we'll have to work with Congress, to get that accomplished. But what we did today was to take the first step of eliminating what I think is bureaucratic bloat. And that's not to say that a lot of the folks, it's a humanitarian thing too. A lot of the folks that are there, they're out of a job. But we wanted to make sure that we kept all of the right people and the good people.
If you find yourself starting to feel a little tug on your heartstrings for those 1,300 people who are out of a job tonight at the Education Department, don't worry. We kept all the good people.
Donald Trump promised to be a dictator on day one, and now he's executing on it. I warned people about it. You warned people about it. Of course, VP Harris warned people about it, but no one wanted to listen. This is all a part of Donald Trump's process to break agencies here, defy court orders there, until he fully has all of the power of our government in the Oval Office for him and Elon Musk to unlawfully share. That is the terrifying end goal. This has nothing to do with the Department of Education. It has nothing to do with USAID. It has nothing to do with Donald Trump's deportation plan. It's all about breaking enough laws to the laws just completely don't apply to Donald Trump. That is their end goal. And we saw Levitt asked about that, and her response wasn't great. And then we're going to check out the question that made her run from the press.
Caroline, what do you say to critics of the president's education
Where was their criticism of our nation's failing test scores for the last several decades? The Department of Education was founded in the 1970s, and since then we have spent more than $3 trillion at this federal bureaucracy. What has been the return on that investment for the American taxpayer? Levels that are less than ideal, less than proficient. Our children's test scores are incredibly concerning when it comes to reading rates, literacy rates, math, and science test scores. The numbers prove that, and this president is finally taking much needed action to return education to where it belongs, and that's to educators closest to students in their classrooms in their respective states. We're going to have a great event here later at 4 o'clock. There will be students here, teachers here, parents here, educators, and of course governors from around the country who are very excited about taking on this responsibility to educate our nation's students.
Who's going to run federal student loans?
So the Department of Education will be much smaller than it is today. As you know, the President's executive order directed Linda McMahon to greatly minimize the agency. So when it comes to student loans and Pell Grants, those will still be run out of the Department of Education, but we don't need to be spending more than $3 trillion over the course of a few decades on a department that's clearly failing in its initial intention to educate our students.
So is the federal government going to be spending less? Much smaller than it is. Is it not going to be shut down completely? And then I have a second question.
As I said, Pell Grants and student loans will still be run out of the department in Washington, D.C., but the great responsibility of educating our nation's students will return to the states.
And the Department of Education plays a critical role in enforcing civil rights laws that prohibit discrimination. Who's going to do that now?
Any critical functions of the department, such as that, will remain. But again, we're greatly reducing the scale and the size of this department.
What about federal Title I funding?
So just a complete not answer from Carolyn Litt, but what else have we come to expect at this point? But it wasn't somehow as bad as when she was asked about Donald Trump's Commerce Secretary, Howard Letnick, who you may have seen losing his mind on every news channel lately. This is an insane and crazed individual. I thought Tulsi Gabbard or RFK Jr. or Pete Haig were bad. This dude is quite literally nuts, and he was going on Hannity last night begging AER Americans to buy Teslas. I guess he's trying to win points with the co-president and Elon. But Carolyn Levitt was asked about this, and she couldn't take the heat.
In a follow-up question, the Commerce Secretary yesterday said that Tesla stock is something that Americans should be buying. Is that the stance of the administration, that people should be investing in? Is that something that the Commerce Secretary should be recommending?
I think the Commerce Secretary was reiterating that the president supports an American-made company like Tesla, who produces a very good product for the American people, which was beloved by the American people, particularly Democrats, until Elon Musk decided to vote for Donald Trump. And now we've seen despicable and unacceptable violence taking place across our country at Tesla dealerships against workers, employees, and also innocent Americans who drive these vehicles. It's actually a scary time in our country because of this political violence from the left, and the White House and the president's entire administration condemn it wholeheartedly. We'll see you guys at 4 o'clock. Thank you. Thank you, Caroline.
Obviously, Carolyn Levitt is going to run away after giving a non-answer to that question because she doesn't want the follow-up. That's why are y'all so comfortable breaking the law? Everything that is done in this administration is either unlawful or at the low end, an ethics violation. At least that's what the car commercial on the White House lawn was. That was so ridiculous, and there's so much law breaking in this administration that we didn't even take a moment to recognize that that shouldn't have been allowed to happen. That was a complete ethics violation, but Donald Trump and Elon Musk are consistently breaking so many laws on the daily that we can't even keep up with it, and that is largely the point of this. All if they break as much as they possibly can, as quickly as they possibly can, we can't keep up, and they expect us to just get sad and feel like there's nothing that we can do. And then maybe that'll shut us up, or their active attempts to suppress the free press will, but we can't let that happen. We have to continue to keep on it out. And two people who did a great job on both of these issues, calling out the idiocracy and unlawful action of Donald Trump, was Jessica Tarlow and Chris Murphy, right here.
I, again, reiterate, I draw the line at arson. No one should be setting cars on fire. But I would argue, no, This is an important point. It's a free market point, but also we talked about Dylan Mulvaney, a single trans influencer who was on a single can of beer for months. And that can of beer set the conservative movement on proverbial fire, rooting against at least half an American company, the Anheuser-Busch side of things. Kid Rock out there doing target practice with Budweiser cans, people vowing to decimate that brand. And Dylan Mulvaney has much less of an impact on people's lives than Elon Musk does. So is that okay? Or that was wrong too, and everyone wants to mea culpa over that? It was one can of beer with one transgender person on it.
No one was intimidated not to buy Bud Light.
Really? Then why did it drop?
No,
why did they lose market value?
Because it wasn't Dylan Mulvaney. It was the marketing person who denigrated the people who drank the beer.
I love that Jessica returned to this point because I have seen so many people do the woe is Elon bit. Oh, these liberals, they're so angry. I thought this was the party of empathy, not for the guy actively killing people. Elon Musk is cutting off the food supply and humanitarian aid to millions around the globe. Elon is going after Social Security, actively causing Americans to die because of it. There are 30,000 deaths each year related to complications with people getting their Social Security. Maybe it doesn't come on time. Maybe it doesn't come at all. And now Elon Musk is trying to shut down the resources that make sure people get these $65 a day, only $65 a day. Well, Elon gets 8 million that they need to survive. Elon is costing people their lives. So yeah, I'm sorry if it's a criminal act for me to not want to buy his swastika car. That is not as bad as Donald Trump sending his armed mob to storm the Capitol, or MAGA blowing up Bud Lights because a trans woman drank one beer. You people are ridiculous and you are hypocritical in the highest order. But thankfully, a lot of these actions that I talked about that Elon is committing, that make me not want to buy his swastika car like I ever would in the first place, are going down in the courts. And Rachel Mano talked about that right here.
Additionally, on top of that ruling where USAID employees are reinstated by court order along with all those other agencies, a standalone blockbuster ruling from another federal judge today specifically ordering the Trump administration to reconstitute USAID and stop their efforts to shut it down, even to let them back into their building. The judge in this case said that the shutdown of USAID, quote, likely violated the United States Constitution in multiple ways. And in his very short 2-page order today, he ordered that the Trump administration must reopen.
We do still have agency, and we still can win these fights against Elon Musk if we try, and we have to keep trying, and we are certainly going to be doing so on this show every single day. And if you want to support that, as always, you can hit that subscribe button, you can leave a like on this video, and if you're stuck around at the end, you can drop a blue heart in the comments. And until next time, I'll see you soon.